Dudes, it's Gaz, and welcome back to the Warframe video. So I've actually had this video planned for a really long time. I just didn't really have time to do it. So I was trying to decide what video I wanted to make today, and we're finally going to drop it. It's going to be Infested Liches. My ideas for Infested Lich weapons, which I hope that we do eventually get. There's currently no plans or announcements for Infested Liches in Warframe, but I would say that personally I consider the Corpus Liches, or I guess they're called Sister Parvos, and the Kuva Liches extremely successful content. It's something that I feel like DE can just add into the game, like add in some new Kuva weapons every here and there. That's going to be, you know, some stuff that people can farm for, that's stuff people can come back for. Maybe it'll be an exciting new weapon to test builds on, which is why I'm so surprised we haven't gotten any new Tenet weapons since they got released, like last August. Actually, not even last August anymore. 2 Augusts ago. And also, we've gotten not that many new Kuva weapons either. We got like the Kuva Brahma and the Kuva Tsar and the Kuva Nucor. I think a couple others. So they actually added more Kuva weapons. They've never added a single new Tenet weapon. So, and we know they were supposed to add like a Tenet Ferox and stuff too. So we're going to be going over Infested Liches. What I would like now, as far as ideas for weapons here, there's 2 different ways that we're trying to go about this. So, route number 1 is they could just make upgraded versions of old infested weapons. You know, that's kind of like what they did with the Kuva and Tenet weapons, and they also added some new ones in the mix. That's probably the best way to do it, and that's probably what they will end up doing. But here's another idea for what they could do with Infested Liches, make them a little bit different compared to, you know, Kuva and Corpus Liches. So, since the Infested, you know, what their entire faction is they're, you know, they're taking over other stuff that already exists and, like, you know, using it, or they're mind controlling it through the power of an infestation or whatever, and it becomes an infested version. You might not have noticed this, but if you look closely at a Grineer, or if you look at an infested charger up close, you will see it is literally just a Grineer Marine. You can see the Grineer Marine's head right there. This is a Grineer Marine's body turned into an infested, like, monster blob. There's the Grineer's Marine leg right there. So, yeah, the other way they could do this is they could take Tenno weapons, so let's just say like the Boltor Prime, and they could make them infested, like corrupted versions. So you'd get an infested Lich version of the Boltor Prime. Who knows what it would do? Maybe fire out some like blood-seeking bugs instead of nails or whatever. That's one way they could do it. Just taking Tenno weapons, making them corrupted, maybe even taking, like, honestly, the amount of options they'd have for that route would be kind of ridiculous. They could take any faction. They could even take Incarnate weapons and turn those infested. So that's one way they could do it, but that's also a lot less fun to talk about, and it requires a lot more, you know, legwork as far as, you know, suspension of disbelief. We're going to go over top 10 weapons I think that Infested Liches should get if we do ever get them. And this is going to be a walk down memory lane, because if you play the game for a long time, some of these old weapons that I'm talking about, they are like, dang, when's the last time you used the Torrid, right? Like the Torrid would be a sweet Infested Lich weapon. So we'll start going over that now. This is in no real specific order. It's just basically 10 infested weapons that are old or somewhat old that definitely need a refresh. And that's what I was taking into this criteria when I was making this list, guys. It was not allowed to be a new weapon, basically. Like, no Babonico on here. No Catabalist. Now, I did kind of cheat and put the Sporothrix on here, but we'll talk about it when we get there. All right, so let's start with the number 10 on the list. I am going to show you how these are in the Simulacrum too, just briefly, even though some of these weapons I still don't have. For example, this first one I don't have still. But yeah, number 10 is going to be the Mire. Now, the Mire actually was pretty popular for a while. This is a base Toxin single sword. It used to have a passive that would apply to Korra's Whipclaw. It does not do that anymore. They removed that part of Korra's stat stick being influenced by the toxin of this thing. So it's pretty much a generic sword right now with toxin damage. So it would be really cool if we could get maybe like a crit buff on this for the Infested Lich version. I'm not even sure what they would call Infested Liches. Maybe like new Mutalist weapons or something. But yeah, the Mire, this was somewhat popular for a while. It's currently not popular, especially after that Korra thing. And the Ribbons even got nerfed because of the Korra thing too. So this would be the number 10 on the list. Think about it, if you throw on a base elemental, let's say you get a cold infested Lich. This has base toxin already. That would be viral slash with no mods on the build. So as long as they buff it in some way, just having the base elemental would be enough to make this like really good for killing high-level enemies with slash procs. So number 10 is the Mire. Not exactly a fan favorite, but it's a pretty iconic-looking weapon, I'd say. And, you know, it looks cool. It definitely looks cool, and it could use some buffs. So that's number 10. And as far as elements, definitely a cold one could be cool. Any of these weapons that have, like, base elementals, a lot of the infested weapons do, a base cold version could work to make it have base viral. All right, moving on to number 9 on the list. This is one that you definitely will remember if you're a long-term player. It's going to be the Pox. And the Pox, definitely, like this, speaking of old infested weapons that used to be popular, this thing used to be majorly popular. We've got a 1% crit chance and 2x multiplier with 35% status chance and base toxin. Another thing that would have, if you had base, if this base toxin, if you had base viral, yeah, that would be nuts. So I don't even use this thing anymore, but I'm sure you could use it as a CO procer. Probably not with that build, though. And, you know, as far as buffing this thing, it has literally 1% crit chance. And when we go over some other weapons today, they have really, some of the infested weapons have really bad crit chance for some reason. So as far as buffs to this, you could make the AoE bigger, you could give it crit, you could, those are usually the things that we want, right? Some base damage would, of course, be given because of the Kuva Lich bonus. So another really, really old weapon that doesn't get used as much, but, you know, give it a little fresh coat of paint, some buff stats. Maybe people will start using it again. I don't think it would take too much for people to use the Pox again. One of the problems is we have such good condition overload primers nowadays with the Epitaph and the Kuva Nucor and like other things too, that the Pox is completely like just, I've thrown it away basically, honestly. All right, moving on to number 8, we got the next one. The first primary on the list, we have the Phage. Now, this thing doesn't really need any help, but I do think that it would be kind of nice to have a buff, as we're mostly going for nostalgic infested weapons on this list, and the Phage has been like a really powerful weapon for years and years and years. But look at these stats. These are pretty good stats already, honestly. We've got 19% crit chance, 2x multiplier, really high 15.5% status chance per projectile. It's got multiple beams. It's got 7 multi-shots, so 7 beams. And it's got base viral damage. So all that stuff is really good, but at the same time, it's pretty much a single target weapon. You can do viral corrosive heat on this thing if you want to, and it's, you know, it's strong. I even got an unlocker on it. Like, it can kill stuff really, really easily and really quickly. But you know, it's a little bit of an awkward feeling weapon. The way this works is like the beams start out all over the place. You have to aim down sights to focus them. And that's some big damage right there. Maybe they could do something involving the whole focusing of beams thing, make it a little bit less annoying, make it have some special gimmick to it. Increasing the base stats on the Phage, of course. Like, I mean, it's got, we just said, it has good base stats and base viral already. So whatever they do, as long as they don't nerf it, it'll be better. But we do want some exciting, you know, little upgrades on these guns. So maybe make it where enemies hit by the beams, you know, have increased dismemberment chance on death. I don't even know. So, or it says, depletes the life of any surface they contact. Maybe it is a built-in lifesteal gun. Now, that would actually be really cool. Giving the Phage built-in lifesteal for an infested Lich version. I mean, the description says it drains the life, and it doesn't give you lifesteal built in, so that's a little fun idea. I think they should definitely do the Phage Helminth version, or whatever they'd call it. Mutalist Phage. How about that? All right, moving on to number 6. We are on a melee that I actually don't think a lot of people remember. It's really cool, actually, just not very good. And good is subjective, of course. But we have the Cost Assist. This is an infested scythe. I believe it comes from the Clan Dojo. And it's got really bad crit. But it's got a lot of other good stuff besides crit. We've got Impact, Puncture, Slash, and Corrosive. So if you want to see some of the most status procs you can get in a weapon, this is the weapon right here. Whenever I say, like, not S-tier status proc, this is S-tier status proc. On this build, Impact, Puncture, Slash, Heat, Viral, Corrosive. And 103% status chance. I believe I had a Riven for this, too, I deleted. Yeah, I had a status chance Riven I deleted. So, yeah. This thing has a bunch of statuses, and also, we're not even done talking about it, its heavy attack launches out an infested puddle. And I think this sets me up for finishers or something. It's not very good, but it's unique at least. And imagine if they buff this. If they buff this to make this have any respectable crit at all, these Costless Rivens would be expensive. That puddle, I believe, sets enemies up for finishers or something. I don't know exactly what it does, but either way, make that puddle do something besides like the finishers or whatever it does right now. Give it some crit, and this is probably going to be the new best scythe in the game, honestly. It looks really cool, too, so The cost assist, you know, it's a forgotten weapon. It didn't really ever have a chance of that those crit stats, but it with all these procs, dude, if they buff this thing in the slightest, it's going to be nasty. So that's one of my top requested, actually, is a Infested Lich version of the cost assist. Alright, so that is pretty cool. I don't know if everyone remember that one. Moving on, though, we've got a weapon that I was definitely thinking about recently. Not in a good way, though, and that's going to be the Embolist. Now, this one is old. Like, I don't even know what update the Embolist came out in, but they hilariously made an augment mod for it recently, where it's going to, like, you basically do damage with the primary shot, which is a beam, and they will charge up a secondary shot, which is like a, I don't even know what to call it. They refer to it as a vial sack, and I would definitely say it's vial, but I wouldn't say that it's not doing that much damage. It's doing 30k damage at most. That 30k is not affected by roar or, like, anything, pretty much. It's really weird. But yeah, this thing has really, like, speaking of bad crit, this is basically bad crit in the video, huh? 3% crit chance, 1.5 multiplier, 41% status chance, and it's got base toxin damage. So another weapon that would be great with, you know, some base cold or something like that from the Lich. We got a 3% crit weapon here, so obviously buff the crit somehow. This weapon is pretty much not even in the ballpark of comparing it to the Kuva Nukor, because it's super single target. Even with the augment is like a really small AoE, so it's not even that exciting. Like I said, the primary shot, I have a gas build on here right now, so you'll see more damage numbers, but yeah, now I've got the charge shot charged up, 30k, it's not going to increase at all. So maybe make it where the augment's like built in, or just give this thing chaining damage. Make this thing like the Infested Kuva Nukor. And if you're not going to do it, if you're going to keep a single target, then please just buff the stats a lot, because the way the stats are right now are terrible. This augment mod needs, like, it needs something. It needs someone for sure. It's not working the way I want it to, even with a good ribbon. So that one was recently being thought about. If we could still, if you're not going to make the augment base, just give us a new version of it that has better stats, built-in viral, so we can do like a viral heat, really high status chance build or something. Then make it chain, or just give it good crit stats, whatever. So that's going to be a highly requested one as well, especially because of that new augment mod, the Embolist. All right, moving on. We only got a couple more here. We've got, I think we got like 4 or 5. We're going to move on to the Legion. I don't even know if I have the Legion still anymore. I do. So this is a weapon a lot of people do like, but it's another weapon with not the best crit. I mean, 15's okay. It's respectable crit, but this is not exactly a meta weapon for multiple reasons. So we look at the Legion right here. Becomes invigorated with faster attack speed, increases toxin damage if it tastes blood. I don't remember how you get that to proc. I think it's just that high combo multiplier. But yeah, basically this thing is really good base stats already besides crit. And everything else is just like, it's just a little bit outdated feeling. Like, this is not like a top tier prime weapon. It's like a mid tier weapon that can get the job done. So if they buff this, I think it would be a little bit, it might be a little bit overpowered as far as melees are concerned, because this thing is already really good with high slash. It's a pole arm, though, so not a lot of people like pole. Actually, no, some people like pole arms. I would say this isn't better than the Guandao Prime. If we compare it to the Guandao Prime, you know, it's not as good as far as stats. We're missing over double the crit chance here, so it's got to compete with that. But still, you know, it's still usable. It just, you know, if we're looking for exciting new prime weapon or exciting new Lich weapons here, this ain't really cutting it. So if they were to buff this, I think it would be probably a new favorite for a lot of people. Pretty easy weapon to use. You know, it wouldn't have good ribbon stats if they made Infested Liches, but, you know, it wouldn't even need it. With those base stats I just saw, that does not need a ribbon, really, for super high levels. So, yeah, not exactly like an extremely exciting one, but one that would easily be one of the top melees in the game if they actually did go through with it. So, yeah, Legion gonna be one of my options there. All right, moving on to the last couple here. Now, this one's going to be controversial. I just think that this weapon, it's way too annoying to get for what it is. Now, you might be like, no, Gaz, not allowed. DE would never do this. It's going to be the HEMA. I just think that the HEMA is too annoying to obtain, where it requires you to have like a clan with like whatever that research is done. And it's like the most annoying research in the whole clan dojo. So this thing, I think it's a lifesteal on headshot burst fire rifle with base viral, so pretty good stuff actually. It's got 11% crit chance, 2x multiplier, and 25% status chance. You can do viral corrosive heat on this. You can make this thing a status procer. I don't even know how old that build is, but yeah, you can do a lot of procs on this, just like the other infested weapons. So if you had a built-in elemental here, you could probably even do viral cold, which is not very common to do on weapons. Basically, only the Epitaph and a couple others can do that. And that's going to make it where you're going to slow down the Demolist and Viral proc them. Actually, no, I think Demolist might be weak to, or immune to Viral procs. Either way, it's a good CO procer. And it's something that you could definitely consider. But the thing is, D is not going to do this because this is a meme of weapon research. You have to get like 5,000 mutagen samples or whatever for your clan. My clan has it, but like, you know, not everybody has it, and it's real annoying to get. So if they made an infested Lich version of this, a base elemental would do nicely. Some base crit stats increases, I wouldn't say no to that. Maybe some fire rate buffs, who knows. Just, you know, a weapon that is not actually bad. It's actually pretty decent. For what it is, but it's pretty much unobtainable to a lot of people because of the meme of having to do all that research. So yeah, that's gonna be one of my requested ones, and I think it could be pretty good actually. They wouldn't even need to change that much. Just this will be the easier place to get it. It'll have some base stat increases and a base elemental. All right, moving on to the last few here, we got the top 3. Now these are my top 3, of course, and I did cheat and I put a weapon on here that's pretty new, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So we're gonna go to number 3 on the list. This is a weapon that is also probably flying under the radar for the most part until DE nerfed the Rivens recently. That's going to be the Serrata. Now, I have made videos on the Serrata like a while ago, so those videos should still be relevant, but it's basically an anti-corpus glaive. It's got really high... so the way you can think about this is the glaive prime has force slash procs on heavy. This has force toxin procs on heavy. So it's really, really good if the enemy has no shield, or if the enemy has no armor and is a shielded corpus. And it basically just the glaive prime with toxin. So that's the easiest way to put it. So I'm just going to quickly show you that here. If you want an anti-corpus glaive, look no further. I guess I searched the wrong thing here. Just search tech. That will work. So yeah, this thing, it would definitely be broken. It would definitely be broken if they made a infested Lich version of this. Especially against corpus, because I'm already like one-shotting corpus like nothing at all. So give this thing built-in viral. You'll be potentially getting a viral proc with your toxin proc. You know, what else could they do? I guess they could just make it where it has a bigger AoE explosion or more crits. Honestly, they probably shouldn't make a tenant or infested Lich Serrata because, I mean, it is nasty already. It's got 1.3 stat Rivens. Even after the nerfs, like, it's still hitting really, really hard. So this is a weapon a lot of people do like, especially people that like Rivens, because the Glaive Prime Rivens are in the dumps compared to that. But I just don't think DE will do it because it would just be so crazy compared to everything else. Let me see, the Toxin is the highest weighted, so you can even do a light attack build on this thing for anti-corpus if you wanted to. That would be nuts, and I hope they do it, but I don't think they'll do it because yeah, although they did make the Kuva Dukor and the Kuva Brahma, so anything's possible. Alright, moving on to number 2. This is just a personal desire for me here. It's going to be the Sporothrix. Now, I know I said no new weapons on this list. I'm kind of cheating, like, you know, the Babanaco is not on here, but the Sporothrix is. It just feels wrong that the Sporothrix has 1% crit chance. This is a slash-focused sniper that comes from Daimos Subterranean Vaults. It's got 1% crit chance, but a 3 times crit multiplier. So, basically what that means is you want to cheese getting crits somehow. So actually that new Mesa augment that I made a video on, that would be great with this. The problem is it's also a little bit slow, too. It's pretty much a slash Zocti sniper with 1% crit. That's how I'd basically explain it. You fire off the shot, and then it explodes. So, I mean, it can do okay damage. It can actually do really good damage. I've one-shot level 10,000s with this thing. But it's such a slow weapon. Like, that guy just took a slash proc. It's such a slow-feeling weapon. It's such a, you know, it's literally got 1% crit, and that just looks gross. And, you know, it just never really had a chance. Now, you can kill level 10,000 with it, like I said, but I don't really see anyone doing that. Why would you run this for level 10,000s when there's so many other weapons that are much easier to run? By the way, I'm going to probably have a Strun Prime versus level 10,000 video soon. That's actually doing pretty good, so maybe check out the Strun Prime. Yeah, this thing with base, you know, getting a base elemental on this thing actually could be a bad thing, unless you had like a minus impact Riven, because if you added a Toxin on here or whatever, it would dilute your slash weighting a lot. So maybe in that regard, oh, it's got built-in viral on the explosion. They never survived that long anyway. But yeah, you know, getting an elemental in here could actually make it worse. But if you're getting a big crit buff to actually get those crits, sometimes I could see it being decent. This thing has 53% status chance at base. So just my personal like wish list. I want this to be you know, an infested Lich version. And while we're here, we can maybe just quickly test it with Mesa. We'll go into the last one. So, as far as the last one, the weapon I want the most out of any infested Lich weapon is actually going to be, drumroll please, I talked about earlier, the Torrid. If you are a long-term player of this game, oh my gosh, the Torrid. Remember the Torrid being meta like way, way back? I hardly do. So yeah, I don't even have a build on it anymore. This thing used to be like the meta weapon way back in the day. And I haven't tried it out recently, but I'm willing to bet it's nowhere near as good as back in the day. This thing would be permanently CCing ads or enemies. Basically, corrosive procs used to knock enemies over, or rather, blast procs used to knock enemies over, and corrosive procs would fully remove enemy armor. So you would be permanently crowd controlling enemies with blast procs, and you'd be fully armor stripping them with corrosive. So it would kill basically anything that was, getting shot by you. So yeah, that's basically the general gist of what that used to do. Let's just quickly show it in the Simulacrum. It's not really doing anything too crazy. Now, then again, this build is not exactly a good build. But yeah, I do think that the Torrid... Now, what I would do for the Torrid is actually... I would make it feel entirely different than it currently does. So how it stands right now is it's just pretty much you shoot at a blob, and then the blob is like, in this area, there is toxin procs, basically, or whatever procs you've modded for. I think it should be just basically make it an infested Tonkor. Make this shot one of the most nasty shots you could ever blast out. Whenever you fire the Torrid, like make it nice, make it a slow weapon, but a very hard-hitting weapon. Because right now it's not a very hard-hitting weapon, even with these buffs. Like that was a 700k, but I'm using Mesa's newly buffed augment, so it's not gonna be doing that normally. So yeah, that's basically my top 10 list, guys. I'm sure there's some on here that people are like, why is there no Babonica or whatever? That seemed pretty good. Why is there no Babonica? Like I said, no new weapons besides the Sporothrix, but that's just my personal, my personal wish list. Let me know what you guys think down below. I also, like I said earlier in the video, we could go down the route of like infesting Tenno weapons. So you could get like an infested version of the Piranha Prime, and like after 5 kills, it becomes like a turret, and it will like an infested turret that follows you around. I want cool stuff like that, but I think we're just gonna get like reskins and weapon buffs, honestly. Also, we need these to be announced in the first place, and D needs to start adding some actual Tenet weapons into the game for once after over a year. So hope this video was fun to you guys. I'm sure it wasn't very helpful, just kind of like, for fun, like theory crafting and making stuff up. So I'll see you guys in the next video, live stream later today, and I appreciate all the support, guys. More videos every day on this channel. Take it easy. Peace.